Hello and welcome. Hello chat, how you doing? How are you doing today on this wonderful Monday? Why did I say Monday? It's Sunday. Scummy Sunday. Oh my god. My brain is here. I'm here. So hype. I am so excited for this fucking book. And the fact that MXTX has come out with the extras, the extras. I've been hearing so many things online, and I can't say them because they're technically spoilers, and I just die. Oh, you can't deal with this. I have so many feelings, and I love Shang-Fei. Shang-Fei. I'm fine and I'm normal. It's like Tongue Mountain Chronicles is now out in so much Chinese. I know. I'm normal and yeah, very normal about this. So I thought it was gonna make me angry, but it's actually I know. Like, okay, you know when she went back and kind of like redid TGCF, Heaven Official's Blessing, a little bit, and people were like, what the hell? Why'd you, what? Huh? And it was like kind of a censored version. She did not do that with this. She did not do that with these new extras. Anyway, from as far as I can tell, I don't, there's no translations for it yet. I'm just picking up bits and pieces. Anyway, I have some tea. Bro, do you mind? I don't know if that's a spider or not. It's so tiny, I think it's a gnat. Whatever. We're on book 4. We're on volume 4 for the extras. For the extras. It's a great time. It's a great time. It's a great time. We're on chapter 22, titled Bing-mei and Binga's Ultimate Showdown. So we love to see it. This chapter is about 50 pages. I don't know if we're gonna get through all of it. However, I think we might. I think we just might, and I don't think I'm gonna stop. I think we just might get through all of it. We'll see. I love this one. This is great. We're gonna have lots of fun. We're gonna have lots of fun. We're gonna... I fucking love these extras so much. Okay. So, should we start now? Should we start? I think we should start. All right, chapter 22, volume 4. The first stop after leaving Sangcheng Mountain, having been chased out by everyone else, was, of course, Luo Binghe's demon quarters at the northern border of the demon realm. Shen Qingzhou had stayed in the underground palace for a while previously during his house arrest. At that time, the soil outside was the perfect replica of the bamboo house. What? The soil outside the perfect replica of the bamboo house had been overturned and strewn with fertilizer. I'm not looking at my book. No, I'm trying to angle myself. Fertilizer. What? Where? Yes. While the bamboo, both tall and short, had died and been replaced, only for the new bamboo to die as well. But when they visited that old location now, he found that Luo Binghe's demonic lackeys must have employed some mysterious technique, for the bamboo had actually flourished to form a canopy of rustling green. What a fuck-ass metaphor. Ugh! Oh my god. Oh my god, I can't deal with this. Oh my god, it's because he's splurging and he's bad. Anyway, it's fine. I'm fine. The first 10 or so days after their arrival, as was to be expected, Lo Binghe had clung to... Oh my god, I'm so... my brain. Lo Binghe had clung to Shen Qingqiu such that he couldn't be swatted off no matter what Shen Qingqiu tried. But these last few days, he had started to show some restraint and suddenly become courteous. Citing his many pressing duties, due to the unending conflict in which the northern and southern borders had lately been embroiled, the amount of time he spent orbiting Shen Qingqiu had greatly decreased. It's past Halloween. Yeah, we're still spooky. We're gonna be like this forever. Hi, Hydra. Naturally, this was an excuse. Shen Qingqiu was pretty sure that the true reason for Luo Binghe's absence was that he'd gratefully declined Luo Binghe's request to sleep in the same bed, thus yet again hurting Maiden Luo's glass heart. Goodbye. Look, he'd only refused out of habit. If Luo Binghe had just pestered him a little bit more, he would have agreed. Who could have guessed that after a mere wave of his hand, Luo Binghe would rush out the door to go find a corner to sulkily grow mushrooms in? Shen Qingqiu suspected that over these few days, Luo Binghe had probably gone to hide in the inner hall. So he decided he might as well head over there himself to soothe him. All were forbidden from entering the inner hall except for Luo Binghe. Needless to say, all didn't include Shen Qingqiu. Luo Binghe had said before that Shen Qingqiu was free to wander anywhere in the underground palace and that he could do so even with his eyes shut. This order had been passed down to everyone, so obviously there were no utter fools who would dare stop him. Hi, Kyoji, fuck, Kyo... G. I think. Fuck. Tea. Shen Qingqiu boldly slipped into the hall, but to his surprise, he didn't see Luo Binghe. Thus, instead, he gave this private little space of Luo Binghe's, which had been kept tightly under wraps in the past, a deep and thorough look. Just as he was preparing to also give the room a deep and thorough probe, the stone gates were flung open, and a silhouette barreled in, stumbling and tripping. At first, Shen Qingqiu's expression sharpened, but after taking a good look at this person, he blurted out, "Luo Binghe?" It seemed that Luo Binghe hadn't anticipated that another person would be within the inner hall. His dazed pupils contracted, leaving Shen Qingqiu's face reflected in his jet-black irises, and what had originally been overflowing murderous intent abruptly transformed into 10,000 points of stupefaction. But Shen Qingqiu failed to notice this. All he could see at the moment was the fresh blood drenching Luo Binghe's face and body. Luo Binghe took several steps forward, then his legs went weak. Shen Qingqiu went to meet him, just in time to catch Luo Binghe as he fell forward into his embrace. His arms automatically and easily wrapped around Luo Binghe's blood-soaked back. What happened? Who did this? What? That's the question. That's the end of the question. Who did this? Guys, I might be a little bit too excited. My brain is still being like, oh, we have to read, but like we have to read legibly. Is that the word? You know what I mean. I have to be understood, but I just want to read. Oh my god. Okay, let's time out for a second. Vocat. Oh hi. Hello. You get it? You get it? You get me? Oh man. Okay, I can do this. I can do this. Calm down, Aries. Calm down. This is chill. We're so chill. To think there would come a day when Luo Binghe could be beaten up to this extent and in his own territory. Alright, to be honest, this couldn't be considered a bug in the code. If the male lead of the Stallion novel had turned gay, what type of plot development could qualify as a bug? Luo Binghe's throat bobbed, and his teeth were clenched so tightly that they seemed about to break, but he still furiously spat out spat out a word from between them. Leave. Leave? Meaning he wanted Shen Qingzhou to escape? All right, let's leave, Shen Qingzhou said quickly. As he spoke, he moved to support Luo Binghe's waist. Unexpectedly, Luo Binghe's lips thinned, and he violently shoved him away. It was the first time Shen Qingzhou had ever been shoved away by this particular person, and he froze on the spot. Did the kid want him to leave by himself first? Was he afraid he'd drag him down? That seemed like the only reasonable explanation, so he immediately said, Don't fuss. This master will take you back to Sangchong Mountain. The veins on Luo Binghe's forehead bulged. No, he snarled. Shen Qingzhou thought he was throwing another tantrum. You good, bro? Okay. How can you fuss when you're already in such a state? We'll hide there for a bit first. As Shen Qingzhou spoke, his palm pressed against Luo Binghe's back. Luo Binghe's face went rigid. From behind him flowed a warm, ceaseless stream of spiritual energy. Wave after wave of it was sent into his body. After a while of this, Shen Qingzhou decided he'd done about enough and withdrew his hand to unsheath Shuya. He pulled up Luo Binghe and lifted off, soaring into the skies. Shuya was from Wanjian Peak, so regardless of the time, riding Shuya through Sangchong Mountain's aerial defense barrier didn't trip any alarms. Therefore, Shen Qingzhou could bring another person back to Qingjing Peak completely undetected. It was just that, while concealing this from the other peaks was possible, concealing it from his own disciples was not. When he crept into the bamboo house, dragging Luo Binghe beside him, people were already waiting inside. Mingfan was holding a broom, sweeping the floor while chattering away. Ning Ying stood on her toes on a little bamboo stool with her sleeves rolled up, using a horsetail whisk to clear off the dust on the bookcase's topmost shelf. They love him so much, and I just think that's so sweet. I think it's so cute. Oh, you've never isn't. No, of course, never. No. Ugh. Ow, what the hell? Okay. Shen Qingzhou kicked the door open, giving them both quite a scare. After a proper second look right away, they let out a cry of, Shit! Shen Qingzhou made a zipping motion before his lips, instantly stopping them from making another sound. Don't yell, he whispered. Do you want to summon that Baijian Peak crowd too? If Lu Qingge knew of their return, he'd definitely come over, and if he came over, there would be no way to hide Luo Binghe while he was in this state. All the disciples love Mommy. I mean, just, yeah, Mommy just. One must understand that whenever there was a glimpse of Luo Binghe on Sangchong Mountain, the ones most raring to deliver a beatdown unto him were those terrorists from Baijian Peak. Because of Shen Qingzhou, Luo Binghe dared not strike back, so every time he ended up being a sitting duck as they chased and pummeled him. Even if they couldn't beat him to death, it was incredibly troublesome. Ning Ying's apricot eyes went wider as she covered her mouth with both hands while automatically nodding, the image not unlike that of a little chick pecking for grain. Cute! Oh, she's so cute! As she gave the blood-soaked Luo Binghe another look, she removed her hands and gasped, Shizun, what happened to Alo? Luo Binghe sent Mingfan a sideways glance, and an expression of extreme loathing mixed with disbelief flashed in the depths of Luo Binghe's eyes. The look was bone-piercingly cold. Mingfan couldn't help but clutch his broom tighter and shrink into himself, almost falling to the ground right there. But Shen Qingzhou didn't catch this little exchange and helped Luo Binghe to sit on the side of the bed. He's suffered some injuries. You two head out first. Is the medicine chest from Chen Sao Peak still where it used to be? Nothing inside the bamboo house has moved, said Ning Ying. Everything's in its place. Does Shizun need disciples to help? No need. This master can do it himself. After chasing off both disciples, Shen Qingzhou helped Luo Binghe sit up, then placed a pillow behind his back for him to lean on. Only after this did he crouch to remove Luo Binghe's shoes. Luo Binghe remained silent, his lips pressed tightly together. Once Shen Qingzhou... Can you shut up? Sorry, the cars are being cars outside. Hi, Apple. I gotta be ready to bring up Bring up something. Bring up something. Bring up a nice something. Where? Shut up! Oh my god! These fucking cars. No, not 3, 4. Hehe. Bingo biting the inside of his mouth this whole freaking time. What? No way! Who's. What? No! Once Shen Qingzhou, did I read this already? Once Shen Qingzhou lowered his head, Lo Binghe's line of sight focused on his pale nape, his gaze unfathomable as a frigid wariness circulated within him. Shen Qingzhou assumed that he was grievously injured and lacked the strength to speak. Noticing how his forehead trickled with cold sweat, he brought over some clean water and soft towels to help him wipe his face. Then he picked out a selection of bottles from the medicine chest Mu Qingfang had issued to him before turning around and reaching out to undo Lo Binghe's clothes. Lo Binghe abruptly caught his hand. The force of the grip was tremendous. Shen Qingzhou frowned, but he couldn't use his other hand to smack Lo Binghe's forehead. He lowered his voice to say, "Stop being difficult. Let me see your wound." Still, Lo Binghe refused to release his hand. Shen Qingzhou's left hand was clutching an assortment of medicinal pills, and he'd long since lost his patience. At this moment, he decided to just cram them all into Lo Binghe's mouth. Now that a few dozen medicinal pills, all of various sizes, had been stuffed into his mouth, Lo Binghe's face was dark. He finally withdrew his hand. Shen Qingzhou took this chance to tear open his clothes. After a couple of glances, he was at a bit of a loss as to where to start. In the end, he only risked using a soft towel to dab at a larger bloodstain. Threads of black qi oozed from curling flesh. It didn't look like a regular wound. Otherwise, with Lo Binghe's regenerative abilities, it would have flawlessly healed long ago. Shen Qingzhou carefully cleaned it for him while saying, "Where have you been hiding these past few days? Who did you fight who could leave you like this?" I think it's time. I think it's time. I think it's time. It's them. So precious. Yes, that's how much. Of course it is. Of course it is. Don't question it. From beginning to end, Lo Binghe remained silent. Once Shen Qingzhou finished wiping his chest, he followed Mu Qingfang's teachings and took Lo Binghe's wrist to examine his pulse. If the situation was really bad, if the situation really was bad, he'd call Mu Qingfang over first and figure out the rest later. Sorry. My bad. As he studied Lo Binghe's pulse, Shen Qingzhou gave his hand and chest another couple of glances. A strange uneasiness crept under his heart. He had a vague feeling that something was wrong, as if something was missing. What could it be? Binghe looking like he's gonna cry but acting angry. Don't make me cry now. Thanks. Ugh. When he looked at Lo Binghe's paling lips and cold eyes, Shen Qingzhou couldn't spare it too much thought. He sat on the edge of the bed and continued to send spiritual energy into him. As that energy slowly flowed into Lo Binghe's meridians, Shen Qingzhou felt his stiff muscles gradually relax. He quietly sighed with relief, then reached out, intending to pull Lo Binghe into his arms. Once again, Lo Binghe struggled free. Binghe! Now that Shen Qingzhou had been shoved away a second time, he tossed aside the towel in his right hand and said helplessly, "What's wrong with you now?" Lo Binghe's eyes overflowed with a wary guardedness. Shen Qingzhou internally rolled his eyes. "We've already reached this point, and you're still throwing a tantrum," he chided him. The simple fact that I wouldn't sleep with you 2 days ago was enough to make you this angry for this long." At these words, the corner of Lo Binghe's mouth seemed to twitch. Upset, Shen Jingzhou changed the direction of his outstretched hand to touch Luo Bingke's forehead instead. "It's a bit hot," he muttered. "Do you feel dizzy?" Suddenly, Ning Ying's voice drifted in from outside. "Lu Shishu, you can't go in. It's a bad time for Shizun right now." The usual Ning Ying was soft-spoken, her manner coquettish, sometimes to the point that she was impossible to understand if you weren't right next to her. So, if she was acting so out of character as to yell, she was obviously sending a message to Shen Jingzhou where he was inside. He leapt headlong off the bed, right as he closed the curtains. Right as he closed the curtains behind him, the bamboo house's door slammed open with a thud. Lu Qingge burst into the room, sword on his back. Shen Jingzhou had one arm beside his own back as he turned around, behind his own back as he turned around, eyebrows raised. "I trust Lu Shidi has been well." Lu Qingge opened fire right away. "Sangchong Mountain has a rule forbidding entrance to Luo Bingke." This is the anthem that happens when Luo Bingke enters the room. Oh my god, what comedic timing. Holy shit. Just the meridians. I don't know. That was from outside. I think people are still celebrating the Dodgers winning. Just people are out partying and shit. Where was I? Where was I? The rule forbidding entrance to Luo Bingke. How come I've never heard of this rule? It's new. I fucking love him. Ming Fan stretched out his head to interject. That's right, Shizun. Sangchong Mountain really does have that rule now. It's just that Jiangman Shibo hasn't yet engraved it upon the rule slab. Everyone knows. You shut up, Shen Jingzhou scolded him. Don't think I don't know that you're the one who called Lu Qingge here, you rascal, in his head. The kid had admired Bai Jian Peak. Typo. The kid had admired Bai Jian Peak for forever. Anytime something slightly noteworthy happened, he reported it to Lu Qingge. He'd practically become their personal spy on Qingjing Peak. Fucking bitch. Though one could say that the widespread admiration of Baijian Peak among the youths was understandable, this kind of little maneuver, even going so far as to secretly tattle, was simply shameful. I'll teach you a lesson later. Having been scolded, Ming Fan wilted and withdrew in dismay. Ning Ying had been apprehensively standing at the door, but needing to vent her anger, she viciously stomped on his foot, all while muttering that he'd ruined things. Stop sipping for your shishu, Ming Fan. Okay, but to be fair, I would... I don't blame him. I don't blame him. The moment the two of them retreated, Lu Qingge threw open the bed curtain. Luo Bingke was half sitting on the bed, his eyes flashing with a savage light, not unlike a young, wounded leopard. His murderous intent roiled as he glared at Lu Qingge, his gaze like unto both icy knives and poisonous flame. A spiritual blast was clasped within his hand, ready to fire at any moment. Shen Jingzhou rushed to put himself between them, bracing one leg on the bed board as he shielded Luo Bingke behind him. Shidi, stop this! Lu Qingge was surprised. He's injured? Shen Jingzhou wanted dearly to bow to him. He sighed. Shen Jingzhou wanted dearly to bow to him. He sighed. If he wasn't injured, I wouldn't have brought him back. Just pretend you didn't see anything, Lu Shidi. Don't chase him off. If he's injured, why not remain in the demon realm? It was because he'd remained in the demon realm that he'd gotten injured. Something happened. Did those demonic monsters stage a revolt? Shen Jingzhou sent Luo Bingke a brief sideways glance. He didn't actually know if this was the outcome of demonic internal affairs, or whether it was appropriate to say, if so, and thus he gave a vague answer. They might have. He should clean up his own mess. Sangcheng Mountain will always be here to support you, but not him. Lo Binghe suddenly let out a cold laugh. This aggravated the wound on his chest, and he gritted his teeth, silently braving the pain. Watching him endure and suffer, a sudden rush of courage bloomed within Shen Jingzhou, and he said sternly, Lu Shidi, don't forget that this is Qingjing Peak. Whether Qingjing Peak gave someone safe harbor was... Whether Qingjing Peak gave someone safe harbor was, it went without saying, a decision to be made by the Qingjing Peak Lord. Lu Qingge's expression became cold with anger and disappointment. Then continue protecting him. After throwing down these words, he stomped out the door. It hadn't been 2 seconds before he came stomping back, and he threw something into Shen Jingzhou's arms. Shen Jingzhou caught it and looked. It was that fan of his. Again. The fan that had fallen out of his grasp sometime during the chaotic battle at the Luo River. Every time it was Lu Qingge who picked it up. It seemed like his fate and the fans were quite intertwined. Maybe I should just straight up give it to him as a present. I'm sorry, my Lucian heart. My Lucian heart. Ooh. Calm, I'm calm. He coughed dryly, then said genially, I'm forever troubling Lu Shidi. Lu Qingge left with a flick of his sleeves. Lo Binghe's voice rang out from behind Shen Jingzhou, the sound a little raspy. Lu Qingge? It was said as a genuine, doubt-filled inquiry? Don't worry about him, said Shen Jingzhou. He's just like this, all bark and no bite. After barking, he leaves. Lo Binghe narrowed his eyes, his face gradually taking on a thoughtful expression. Shen Jingzhou placed the fan on the table. Have no fear, he consoled him, since this master has spoken his piece. He won't come bothering you for some time. If the Baijian Peak disciples come to gang up on you, you can hit back. As long as you don't kill them, it'll be fine. There's no need to accommodate them. This would also save Qingjing Peak some face. I mean, Shen Jingzhou does have 2 hands. Exactly, he has 2 hands. The more Lo Binghe listened, the odder the expression on his eyes became, as if testing the waters. He said the word, Shizun? Shen Jingzhou cocked his head. Both his tone and expression brimmed with 120% warm indulgence, a promise to grant whatever request Lo Binghe might have. Lo Binghe withdrew his gaze, the corner of his mouth twitching. Nothing. I just wanted to try saying it. No matter the situation, this child would unfailingly call out to him, Shizun, Shizun. None of this was news to Shen Jingzhou. He stroked the back of Lo Binghe's head. Why don't you sleep? Whatever is happening over there with the demons can be left until you've finished recovering. Lo Binghe gave him an almost imperceptible nod. At this, Shen Jingzhou bent down and removed the pillow at his back, then helped him lie down. Before Lo Binghe met the bed, Shen Jingzhou carefully unfastened his hair tie to case his skull. In case his skull pressed on it in his sleep. And he hurt his head. He's so cute. He's so cute. I think we can put this down. Take this down now. Ah. My arm looks weird like that. Don't worry about it. Oh no, Binghe developing a complex. Oh no, no. Only after doing this did Shen Jingzhou blow out the lamps, remove his outer robes with a rustle, and get into bed as well. He held Lo Binghe and said, Sleep. This master will regulate your breathing. Now he'd both hugged and slept with Lo Binghe. That ought to dispel the little tantrum from before, right? Shen Jingzhou closed his eyes, adjusting his spiritual circulation to its calmest possible state, as placid as evening drew, and used it to gently flush Lo Binghe's meridians. and other things. In the darkness, a pair of clear, glittering eyes flashed with cold light. Even after a long time, they did not close, but remained fixed on the peacefully sleeping Shen Qingqiu. Shen Qingqiu's long hair lay draped over his arm and between his fingers. Luo Binghe took hold of one of those black locks, his grip slowly clenching, and soundlessly mouthed a name over and over again. Shen Qingqiu. Shen Qingqiu. A dark and sinister curve tugged his lips upward. The silent smile on quotations, Luo Binghe's face grew wider and wider. As if he discovered some amusing plaything, his eyes began to shine with an excitement, one that seemed to hold the slightest hint of cruelty. Scene break! Oh, what could happen? Who could it be? Why is he acting so weird? Just finished watching Demon Hunter. Hell yeah! Hell yeah, we're going up! No. Anyway, we're on page 23, in the middle of page 23. I like Soda Pop. I actually, out of all the songs, I don't like Soda Pop. I like all the songs except for Soda Pop. It's just not my favorite genre. Surprise electric-tailed spark mouse face. The fuck? Oh, okay. Okay, we're gonna continue. Yes, what time is it? Oh, yes, quite. Oh, wonderful. That night, Shen Qingqiu's dreams were both torturous and unending. When the dawn of the second day came, the first to open his eyes was Luo Binghe. Some color had returned to his snow-pale face, and his complexion was much improved over how it had been the previous night. On the contrary, the one who'd been bursting with energy the evening prior, before they retired, who'd held Luo Binghe all the way until they woke, was now dazed, drowsy, and seemed a bit fatigued. Shen Qingqiu had in fact passed the entire night's worth of spiritual energy into Luo Binghe, not stopping even after he dozed off. He's an eepy boy. Luo Binghe slowly fluttered his eyelashes. For a while he gazed at Shen Qingqiu with a complicated expression, then reached out to move Shen Qingqiu's arms. The moment Shen Qingqiu was moved, he startled up, jolted even further awake. Luo Binghe took this chance to sit up and leave the bed. Shen Qingqiu was profoundly bewildered. Usually it was impossible to dislodge Luo Binghe, even when he kicked, yet this morning Luo Binghe had voluntarily detached himself. He pinched the bridge of his nose and wrinkled his brow. "What are you doing up so early? Making breakfast? You don't have to today." Then he saw that Luo Binghe was wearing only a thin inner robe, the collar left undone. His vast, criss-crossing wounds had already closed, leaving nothing more than faint marks. They would probably be done healing by the end of the day. However, this left almost half his chest wholly exposed to the elements. That outer robe from the night prior could no longer be worn, so Shen Qingqiu reminded him, "Your old clothes are still in the side room. Ying Ying and the others haven't touched them." I just forgot about that little tidbit. I just forgot about that little thing. That he kept his room exactly as it was when. I'm fine. Luo Binghe slipped around and behind the screen, heading to the side room. A spotless little world of its own met his eyes. There was a furniture set constructed from green bamboo, complete with a table, chair, bed, and cabinet. At the head of the bed there was even a small stand upon which lay neatly shelved scrolls and all manner of brushes, the latter arranged according to length. Upon opening the cabinet doors, he found folded white robes, all stowed away in a tidy fashion. Above them, there even hung high-quality jade accessories in various styles. Oh, yeah! I'm really trying not to bend the pages too much. In the time Lo Binghe was in the side room, Shen Jingzhou slowly rose from the bed. He scanned for where he'd left his shoes while rubbing his temples. What a terrible fucking sleep he'd had. He was about to lose it. It'd been dream after dream, dream after dream after dream after dream. Even his shameful dark memory of fighting the Skinner demon in Shuanghu City had been dredged up. And even dreams within dreams. Sounds like my average night. The Immortal Alliance Conference, Jinlan City, Huayue City, the Holy Mausoleum. He'd gone through everything like a merry-go-round, including the times he'd been beaten, the times he'd coughed up blood, the times his body had sprouted all over with foliage. Having had so many dreams crammed into his head in one night, it was about to explode. It was abso-fucking-lutely because he'd passed all that spiritual energy into Lo Binghe while sleeping. Whenever Lo Binghe's psyche was unstable, anyone who slept near him would suffer. At that moment, Lo Binghe finished dressing and emerged from the side room with a turn. Shen Jingzhou had yet to find his shoes, but he stopped looking. Instead, he waved at Lo Binghe to beckon him over to the bed, then pulled him down. However, Lo Binghe failed to be pulled. He raised an eyebrow. What are you doing? Oh wait, who's saying this? Okay. What are you doing? Shen Jingzhou felt around beneath the pillow and pulled out a hair tie alongside a wooden brush. What do you think? Only then did Lo Binghe obediently sit down in front of him while glancing around the bamboo house. As Shen Jingzhou brushed his hair, he asked on a whim, yes, what are you looking at? Lo Binghe's gaze remained sharp and cold, but his voice warmed and softened. These past few years, every time I returned to Qingjing Peak, it was in a rush. I never could give it a proper look. Shen Jingzhou held the hair tie between his teeth and impishly braided him, a tiny plait in secret. Then these days you can look your fill. I'll pay Baijian Peak a visit later and get Lu Qingge to properly discipline the lot of them. There's absolutely no rationale to justify Qingjing Peak disciples being chased around by Baijian Peaks. Lo Binghe stilled for a while, then he slowly turned his head and smiled at him before saying sweetly, Shizun? Shizun. It was as if this was Lo Binghe's very first time using such a novel term of address. He repeated it again and again, without pause. Every time he did, he received an answer, and he grew increasingly addicted to it until Shen Jingzhou couldn't take it anymore. He picked up his fan and swatted the back of Lo Binghe's head. Enough with the Shizun. Once is sufficient. Say what you mean properly. Now that he'd been struck on the back of his head, Lo Binghe's expression darkened, but he swiftly rectified it and smiled ambiguously. His gaze swept to the side. Did Shizun sleep well last night? How could I sleep well while holding you? Shen Jingzhou thought, but he said mildly, I dreamed of a number of old affairs, that's all. Then next time, should I hold Shizun while we sleep instead? Of course he could say such words so casually. Having accomplished his task, Shen Jingzhou patted his head and pushed him off the bed. Go. Then Shen Jingzhou did as he'd promised and paid Baijian Peak a visit. Heading over there was familiar and easy. He didn't even need to deliver a visitor's notice. After swallowing 2 mouthfuls of a light congee Ming Fan sent him, he adjusted his clothes and sauntered off. He left Lo Binghe behind in the bamboo house, admonishing him to be good and wait until his master comes back. But as if Lo Binghe would be willing to just be good and wait. Lo Binghe had just opened the door when he saw a delicate, orange-colored figure bound toward him. He took a good look, then said, full of smiles, Ying Ying. Unexpectedly, Ning Ying Ying shuddered and paled in shock. What's wrong with you, Alo? Did you hit your head? Why did you address me like that? What the hell is this Ying Ying? That's terrifying. Lo Binghe fell silent. Ning Ying's expression of pure horror had yet to fade. Why didn't you just call me Ning Shiji? A pause. Ning Shiji. That Shiji, Shiji, I don't know how to pronounce these words. The bird, was uttered with a fair amount of internally gnashed teeth. Ning Shiji. Shiji. I will never understand. I will understand one day. I will. Ning Shiji sighed in relief and patted her chest as she chided him. Now that's better. Changing terms of address like that out of the blue, it didn't sound like you at all. Shizun may dote on you, but you must always respect seniority. That way we dishonor neither our status as Qingjing Peak's disciples nor Shizun's teachings. I love her. Upon hearing this, veins bulged in Luo Binghe's forehead, and he lost his patience. I have something to ask you. Understanding shortly dawned on Ning Yingying's face. With a wave, she solemnly placed a whisk and broom into Luo Binghe's hands. Shiji understands. Here. Silence. Don't take offense, Aloa, Ning Yingying said sincerely. You invariably want to clean Shizun's bamboo house by yourself. I know that, but the two of you were gone for a long time, so Da Shishang and I could only get started on it ourselves. However, since you've returned, I'll leave it to you. Shiji won't compete with you for chores. When it comes to this, Shiji still understands. Like, fuck you do. In italics. Luo Binghe turned and left for Shanshu Peak. Shanshu Peak's disciples had always welcomed him very warmly. No matter where he went, it was the same. In the past, Shen Jingzhou had given Luo Binghe quite a few miscellaneous errands, thus one could often have found him on Shanshu Peak. From time to time, he'd gone there to deliver a letter, distribute a notice, invite someone over, or borrow something. When male disciples from other peaks came, they would at least sneak a couple of peeps, peering around and around until they ended up looking inside the maidens' quarters or bathhouse. Naturally, they'd be beeped to death by the maidens' swords long before they made it to the bathhouse. Only Luo Binghe had treated the peak's disciples with respect and continuously maintained a strict distance every time he came. His reputation at Shanshu Peak was correspondingly high, therefore everyone on Shanshu Peak had given him tacit permission to enter the inner halls to wait. With her face veiled, Lu Mingyan politely bowed in greeting. Lu Mingyan, yes, Lu Mingyan. I love Lu Mingyan. Okay. Luo Shishang. Luo Binghe had yet to speak when she nodded at him and continued. Did Luo Shishang come to visit Shizun on Shen Shibo's orders? Please wait here for a while. I will first make arrangements for my Taoist friends from Tianyi Temple, then I will return. The 3 Taoist friends she spoke of were those 3 beautiful nuns. Their lovely, delicate figures were enveloped in aquamarine Taoist robes, and they orbited her. 6 liquid eyes stared at Luo Binghe as they spent a moment whispering into each other's ears, then spent another moment stamping their feet coquettishly. Their cheeks flushed red. They were like 3 radiant blue blooms circled around a slender lotus, playful and giggling, before they all headed out as a group. Such a legend she is. As promised, Luo Binghe waited patiently for Lu Mingyan to return. After standing there for only a short while, he realized that the corner of a small book was peeking out from amidst the mess of scrolls upon her desk. It was obvious that it had been shoved beneath them in a hurry. So, Lu Mingyan also had things she wanted to hide. He casually pulled out the booklet she had hidden and gave it a rough glance over. Finding the cover gaudy, with each of the title's 3 words written in a more ridiculous cursive than the last, he wrinkled his brow. He smiled at the signature of Sleeping Willow Flower and flipped it open, and was struck silent. Now I wonder why he would be so confused, so baffled by this. What could it be? As a scene break, we are now on page 30. 30. I would like it if these cars would be quiet. Okay, good. When Shen Jingzhou returned from Baijian Peak after drinking tea and having a heart-to-heart with Luo Bingke, Luo Bingke was waiting for him within the bamboo house. The moment he entered, he felt a gaze shoot over him, boiling and burning. Shen Jingzhou made an internal face. Well, now I'm a bit afraid to close the door. What's going on? Atop the bed, Luo Bingke reclined on his side and smiled. What's wrong? Why won't Shizun come here? While it was said in the same soft tone, touched by a little bit of hurt, his eyes told a different story. He was looking Shen Jingzhou up and down as if he'd never seen him before. It was like he was trying to scrape off a layer of Shen Jingzhou's skin with his eyes. Damn. Damn. Shen Jingzhou's appearance was stellar. His shoulders were neither too broad nor too bulky, while his waist was thin and his legs long. Enveloped in Qingjing Peak's many-layered teal uniform, he was immaculate and slender, with a great deal of graceful beauty. Yes, it was his graceful beauty. What the fuck? Yes, it was his graceful beauty. This guy's gay. How? Okay, he's just realized that he's gay and he's like, oh yeah, no, obviously, yeah. I have so many feelings and I can't talk about them because they're kind of like spoilers or they're kind of, oh god. Just reading this again in the context of with what I know of the extras. Shen Jingzhou pushed the door shut behind him. He had yet to get within 5 steps of Luo Bingke when he was yanked forward, and he fell into Luo Bingke's embrace as his arms tightened around his waist. Luo Bingke's fingers trailed down his side, occasionally squeezing and kneading. Hand, thank you, your hand! When Shen Jingzhou went to grab Luo Bingke's paw in a backhanded grip, he twisted. Somehow, Shen Jingzhou found himself pressed down on top of Luo Bingke's thigh with his legs apart, trapped in place. In the next moment, Luo Bingke caressed his nape before pulling him down, and his lips were captured again. He dared not move. Fuck, in this position, he really didn't dare move. Though they'd engaged in activities far surpassing this a while back. The previous time had been a special situation, plus there'd been an impending disaster, so there had been no time to worry about shyness or reservations, all while they'd been fairly intimate during their near half-month in the demon realm for some reason. Whether out of bashfulness or something else, Luo Bingke had never done anything too forward. Or something else. More something else. I didn't want to hurt him again. Oh no, I can't cry because then it makes it harder to read. At this time, and at this location, the situation was completely different. The sun hadn't even set yet. Was sex in broad daylight really okay? Had he sheltered this child so much it broken him? Shen Jingzhou was highly unaccustomed to being so close to someone while wide awake, but Luo Bingke was a porcelain doll who shattered at the slightest touch, and he would never survive another careless drop. So Shen Jingzhou reciprocated Luo Bingke's actions and opened his mouth a little. It's just the fact that I was listening to like essentially a video essay. It wasn't a video essay, it was just someone to talk about how fucking traumatized. Oh man. It was just essentially the cycles of abuse and breaking that down, and how Luo Bingke is just now that he's not putting on a facade, he's got a lot of things to work through. He's got He's got a lot of work to do. Oh, my boy. Speaking of, something was strange. Shen Jingzhou had been in this body for ages now, and it had always felt like so... What? And it had always felt like so... cold and unfeeling from head to toe, no matter where he was touched. Nothing tickled him, regardless of where he was poked, and he seemed to have no sensitive spots. But as Luo Binghe needed him, the pressure, gentle yet varied, he felt a nigh unbearable prickling itch. Why is he so proficient? Why? Even though he's a virgin? Why? An instant expert after only one time? Why? How is this fair? I'm going to sue. I'm going to yell. Why? Luo Binghe nibbled on Shen Jingzhou's lip while his tongue probed and prodded within Shen Jingzhou's mouth. Having difficulty keeping up with this pace, Shen Jingzhou began to pant faintly. Oh, it's gonna sting me. However, when he moved his head away even a little, Luo Binghe pulled him back and kissed him even more deeply. Unable to catch his breath, his eyes squeezed shut in a frown, Shen Jingzhou was naturally unable to see the malice flashing within Luo Binghe's gaze. As his perch on Luo Binghe's thigh was unsteady, he involuntarily reached out and grabbed at Luo Binghe's collar, but he missed the cloth, instead landing on the skin of Luo Binghe's chest. The smooth, unblemished skin of his chest. In that moment, Shen Jingzhou's mind went as blank and white as snow. When his palm suddenly exerted great force. Then his palm suddenly exerted great force, and he fired a spiritual blast at Luo Binghe's heart. Okay. Luo Binghe took this powerful surge of spiritual energy head on, but he remained utterly unaffected. With a cold laugh, he encircled Shen Jingzhou's right wrist with one hand while continuing to press down on his nape with the other. Then he skillfully flipped them over, rolling them onto the bed together. Looking down at Shen Jingzhou from overhead, he smiled brightly. "What's wrong, Shizun? Don't you love me very much? Why aren't you willing to give in to me?" "Go fuck yourself." "Beat it," spat Shen Jingzhou. Luo Binghe's... Now, every time that we're saying Luo Binghe, it's in quotations, just by the way. Shizun needs something. No, he needs... I just feel a lot of things. It's just that this whole thing is sad, okay? This is all very sad. This is all very sad and depressing. And... Luo Binghe's lips and teeth went from gentle worrying to vicious biting, instantly filling Shen Jingzhou's mouth with a taste of blood. Shen Jingzhou formed a seal with his left hand, summoning Xu Ya from where it lay on the table. When Luo Binghe's movement slightly slowed, Shen Jingzhou took the chance to kick upward and plant his foot against the imposter's chest. But he hadn't managed to get all the way up when something clamped down on his ankle. He looked back to see Luo Binghe's hand grasped there, at which point it abruptly yanked, dragging Shen Jingzhou back beneath him a second time. Right after, he forced Shen Jingzhou to straighten, then, with a hand still clasped around Shen Jingzhou's calf, folding Shen Jingzhou's leg against his chest with a downward press. He accomplished this entire set of movements in a single breath. "Where is he?" yelled Shen Jingzhou. Luo Binghe cocked his head. "Who are you asking about? If it's me, aren't I right here?" Now able to catch his breath, Shen Jingzhou asked, "How did you end up here?" Luo Binghe toyed with his hair. "For my part, I'm more curious as to how Shizun found me." Motherfucker. Found me out. My bad. There were sword scars on both Luo Binghe's palm and chest, once given to him by Shen Jingzhou himself. "Do you really want to find out?" asked Shen Jingzhou. Luo Binghe lowered his body further and said, his voice chilly, yet colored by a hint of provocation, "It's fine if you don't want to say. We have plenty of time, enough for me to slowly find out." "Then why not take a look behind you?" The curve on Luo Binghe's lips froze. Startled, he abruptly swiveled his head back, guard raised. A face exactly like his, partly illuminated and partly in shadow, rushed forward. That face was like snow, like frost, frigid down to the core, yet its eyes burned like ghost fire, the color a searing, bloody crimson. Within the bamboo house, there were two identical people with the same exact face, other than one being dressed in white and the other in black. There was not a single discernible difference between them. At the black-robed Lobinka's waist, at the black-robed Lobinka's waist hung a sword sealed tightly within layers upon layers of paper talismans. To think that the once kingly Shin-mo, overflowing with power and tyrannical energy, would end up bound in such a rough and unseemly manner, unable to release a single wisp of demonic energy. Sorry, I'm just thinking about how Shin-mo is literally is literally the symbolism for Lobinka's mental illness. Oh, he's patching it up. He's patching it up. Bing-mei's trauma complexes save the day. Yeah. Oh, okay. Ooh. Lobinka's voice came in a hoarse but forceful whisper. Unhand him. A spiritual blast accompanied this quiet, enraged snarl. The white-robed Lobinka, quotation Lobinka, locked firm. Okay, guys, the one in white is the imposter. One in black is our Lobinka. The white-robed Lobinka locked firmly between Shen Qingzhou's legs, promptly and decisively returned it. The two attacks met in midair with a harsh sound, scattering dust and smoke throughout the room. Lobinka wore an expression of incredible disappointment. How am I supposed to... Can I just say Bing-mei and Bing-ge? Can I just say that? Because I'm not going to be saying quotations every single time. Trauma sucks, I think. Yeah, I think so. Quote unquote low. Okay, because I know it's gonna change into Bing-ge and Bing-mei eventually, but reading it out loud, it's really difficult to get across who is who at this point. I'm gonna say Bing-ge. Bing-ge wore an expression of incredible disappointment. You couldn't have returned a little earlier or a little later, he asked contemptuously. You just had to choose a time like this. He had yet to finish speaking when Shen Qingzhou curled his pointer and middle finger. Zhu Ya's hilt trembled slightly where the sword had stabbed into the wall, then flew into his hand. His grip clenched into a fist, and he immediately swung his arm, chopping downward. Sandwiched between two attacks, Lord Bing-ge finally couldn't maintain that provocative posture any longer. He flipped off the bed, not forgetting to give Shen Qingzhou's waist another squeeze before leaving, then gracefully landed on the other end of the bamboo house. Shizun is so merciless when he attacks, he said, adopting a sad expression. Doesn't his heart hurt for his disciple even a little? Get the fuck out. Who's your Shizun? This guy was the male lead of the Zhangjian stallion novel Proud Immortal Demon Way, the original flavor, Lobinka. Previously, the system's punishment protocol had set him loose, this godly man who was admired by Zhangjian readers everywhere. On those forums, anyone who brought him up reverently under... What the fuck? Ow! Wait, I'm trying. Wait, I'm still trying. Okay. On those forums, anyone who brought him up reverently uttered the same name. Bing-ge. Shen Qingzhou could never have anticipated that this guy would show up not only within the punishment protocol, but within the standard world as a real solid entity. All this given, It seemed like the system's so-called punishment hadn't just made setting a character simulation loose. It had directly pulled little Bing-mei over from a parallel universe, one that belonged to the original novel. I'm having so many thoughts. I'm having so many fucking thoughts. I just have so many thoughts. Ugh. Imagine if one could just slap a talisman on the noggin to deal with seasonal depression. Literally putting a band-aid on it. Oh god. So many thoughts. Okay, that's fine. No, it's normal, that's fine. Ever since the day before, Shen Jingzhou had nursed the vague feeling that something was off, but maiden Luo had always been the type to kick up a fuss or act spoiled at the drop of a hat. Plus, he'd been anxious and concerned. Shen Jingzhou had only paid attention to treating his injuries and failed to give Luo Bingke's behavior careful thought. I also think sometimes... Shut up. On the real Luo Bingke's palm and chest were sword scars that had been left by Shen Jingzhou himself. That child treasured even that kind of thing, and he refused to heal them, instead preserving them on his body. How, therefore, could Shen Jingzhou ever get to touch smooth, unblemished skin? In the end, he and Luo Bingke were too unfamiliar with each other's bodies. Yes, he and Luo Bingke were too unfamiliar with each other's bodies. Okay, what? There should be a period. There's no period. What's the period? Ah! That was why it had taken him so long to figure out what was wrong here. 1,000 fortunes that he'd reined in... What? 1,000 fortunes that he'd reined it in right at the edge of the cliff. So close, so close. He'd almost lost all integrity. There. There's literally a cough in parentheses. That's fun. Okay. At this point, that leave Luo Bingke had directed at him the day before on their first encounter within the underground palace became much easier to understand. The word hadn't meant hurry and run, I don't want to drag you down, but rather, get the fuck away from me, you scumbag piece of shit. The sword-carrying, black-robed Luo Bingke threw himself forward and said in a rush, Shizun, did that bastard do anything to you? Isn't calling him a bastard basically calling yourself one? It was only a roast for the sake of roasting. Shen Jingzhou looked at Luo Bingke's face, at its brimming urgency as he clung to him, unwilling to let go, and felt deeply relieved. Now this was how Luo Bingke should be. Shen Jingzhou cleared his throat, confirming that his clothes were neither torn nor crooked. Yes, that's a word that I say all the time. Confirming that his clothes were neither torn nor crooked, and that his appearance was all in place, before saying, "This master is fine." He suddenly recalled how, the day before, the other Luo Bingke's body had been covered in wounds, had skin split and bleeding. He feared that this one might not have been left unscathed either, and quickly asked, "What about you? Are you injured?" Luo Bingke nodded. "It's all healed already." Shen Jingzhou grabbed his wrist and flipped it over. Upon his palm was a white scar that could be called neither faint nor clear. Shen Jingzhou's heart stirred at the sight. "What happened exactly?" Who was speaking? Yes, okay. "What happened exactly? Where have you been these last 2 days? Why is he here?" Luo Bingke shook his head. "This disciple doesn't know. The day before yesterday, I'd secluded myself within the underground palace's inner halls when Shinmo's fragments unexpectedly glowed purple. Then this person appeared, and in his hand was another Shinmo. I exchanged blows with him, but in a moment of carelessness, I entered one of Shinmo's rifts, which sealed closed behind me. I only had enough time to swipe the sword from him. When I returned, I couldn't find Shizun, so I could only head to Sangchong Mountain." Sorry, I'm getting comfy, okay? I'm getting comfy for this fight. was I? So, for these past 2 days, Lo Bingke had been in Proud Immortal Demon Wei's original world, and Shinmo's space server space severing slash were already that heaven-defying level of OP. Its slashes could slice apart even the space between parallel universes. That was no longer something you could explain away by calling it a mere bug. And now a homegrown green JJ gay. What the fuck? I don't know what any of this means. But okay. And now a homegrown green JJ gay had found himself in one of Zhongdian's uncountable harems of beauties. This child must have been frightened out of his wits. Oh, baby. Shen Qingzhou couldn't help the tender fondness that welled up within his heart. Shut up, I swear to God. But he suddenly heard a voice say coldly, "Excuse me, I'm still here. Could you not leave me hanging?" The original Lo Bingke was used to forever being at the center of everyone's attention. Watching this duo jump on each other at first sight, thoroughly ignoring his existence and being all cloying and disgusting, filled him with an unspeakable irritation. With a subtle burst of force from his foot, he soundlessly smashed several of the stones beneath it into a fine powder. Lo Bingke shielded Shen Qingzhou behind him, his tone ominous. What were you doing just now?" "Just playing around," the other Lo Bingke said mildly. Shen Qingzhou was stunned silent. "Playing around with who? Playing around with me? Bingke, you'd accept all corners? Welcoming both men and women? Is this something like both meat and fish are fine, I'm not picky, I'll eat whatever I'm given?" He said, you buy, bro? Bro, you buy? Or was it because this Lo Bingke had failed to collect even a single member of the original harem, leaving the other Lo Bingke deprived until he couldn't take it any longer? Bingke humphed. "Who made you so useless?" he asked disdainfully. "To think you'd have not a single woman." His standard for uselessness was practically a drunkard's, but Lo Bingke's focus wasn't on this at all. In his fury, scarlet blood seemed to drip from his eyes, and he said sharply, "You dare to humiliate Shizun like this?" The other Lo Bingke's eyes also flooded with crimson as he met that gaze and sneered. "How was I humiliating him? Look at that worthless appearance of yours. To think you'd be so unsightly when you're also Lo Bingke. You'd even spend all day messing around with Shen Qingzhou, that depraved degenerate." He's not... He... Is Shen Qingzhou discovering bisexuality? Oh man, Shen Qingzhou. Oh. I'm sorry. The video essay I was listening to was also like, oh yeah, also this is like what happens when you repress your femininity and gayness and queerness and you put on masks and then you're this is toxic masculinity. Bingke is toxic masculinity. Bingke is he's just doing his best. He's just doing his best. Ugh. He had yet to finish his sentence when Lo Bingke exploded. Dark chi suffused the interior of the bamboo house, to the point that one couldn't even see their hand in front of their face. Neither protagonist was willing to yield an inch, but when a ray of white light lanced in from above, it appeared that while throwing spiritual blasts around haphazardly... What the fuck? But then a ray of white light lanced in from above. It appeared that while throwing spiritual energy blasts around haphazardly, the poor rafters in the bamboo house's ceiling had suffered undue collateral damage. A large hole had been blown open. Lo Bingke raised his head and gazed upward, his face darker than even the demonic chi he'd been firing off. Shen Qingzhou had approximately the same reaction. Motherfucker, how are we supposed to explain when Anding Peak comes to make repairs? Lo Bingke was unwilling to destroy the bamboo house. He jumped out of the door and yelled, Come out here. The original flavor humped. Perfect. I wasn't able to let loose inside that run-down little house. The two silhouettes, one black and one white, vanished in an instant. Meanwhile, Shanxingzhou pondered whether calling Baijian Peak would result in them trying to kill both Lobinkas indiscriminately. At this moment, Ming Fan and Ning Yingying rushed in with a group of disciples behind them. By Shanxingzhou's guess, they'd been doing their evening reading when they heard the strange noises and hurried over. Some of them were carrying guqin, while others held books. Halt, said Shanxingzhou. The entire group of disciples quickly stood at attention. Ming Fan opened his mouth to ask, Shizun, what's going on here? Line up, Shanxingzhou interrupted. The Qingjing Peak disciples lined up promptly, as if by reflex. Go down and run laps around Qingjing Peak, 30 of them. If Shanxingzhou tried to shoo them away after letting them know what was going on, these kids would unquestionably refuse. They'd even insist on staying to help, read to make a mess. Better, then, to just shoo them off before it reached that point. As he had issued such a direct command, the disciples all looked at one another. If their Shizun wanted them to run, they would run. A group of teal-robed boys and girls ran down Qingjing Peak in a trailing conga line, one after another. It's so stupid. Now that that's taken care of. Oh my god. Now that he directed them away, Shanxingzhou let out a sigh of relief. Then he turned around, taking off toward the bamboo forests at the back of the mountain. While the original flavor Lobinka had complete control over Shinmo, the Lobinka who Shanxingzhou had raised, whether due to an unstable psyche or a surplus of distracting thoughts, was prone to suffering its recoil and psychic assaults. Therefore, the latter was probably leery of carelessly handling Shinmo, meaning his hands were somewhat tied. It was likely that for this exact reason, that he'd taken the initiative to bind and seal the blade with paper talismans. Sorry, I'm hearing noises. Weird. Shanxingzhou says, jump. The disciples say, hi, mommy. Yeah. I would too. The thing is, I don't blame anyone in this fucking book ever about anything except for Old Palace Master. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you, bitch. You're dead. Anyway. Where was I? Talismans. Holding a golden finger while being too afraid to use it was like holding a golden bowl but being unable to ask for rice. With the sword still in its sheath, they seemed to have engaged in a brawl, but this brawl was packing way too much destructive power. Dozens of yawning ditches had already been gorged into the ground, bamboo toppled and sent fallen leaves scattering, while roosting birds soared into the... I can read. While roosting birds soared into the sky with frightened cries. If this continued, the clear and tranquil Qingjing Peak was going to end up shaved into a bald-headed Tu-Ding Peak. The second he spied a gap between the two, Shanxingzhou prompted Shuya to lunge at the original flavor with a shriek. Silvery light sparked back and forth as the blade streaked toward narrow eyes. The other Lobinka abruptly moved his head and flicked the sword away, then asked with head still cocked, "We're clearly the same person. Why does Shizun help him but hurt me?" I'm so sad. I'm so sad. Anyway, like fuck you're the same person. The Lobinka he'd raised was eccentric maiden Luo, aka Bing-mei, whose story, following Shanxingzhou's plot interface, had by the system's grace been reshuffled into the Green JJ's Danmei page. Onto the Green JJ. He wasn't a Zhangdian stallion novel male lead like this guy, with his cool badassery oozing out of every pore and his head full of vulgar thoughts, who'd farmed and leveled up on low IQ villains and side characters. No, he's nothing like you at all. Shan Jingzhou kept his mouth shut and didn't answer. He met gazes with Luo Bingke, and without needing any further words, they attacked the original as one. From the beginning, there hadn't been much difference in power between the two Luo Bingkes. The original's injuries had mostly been due to Luo Bingke hacking at him. With the addition of Shan Jingzhou, the balance slowly tipped. Amidst sword glares as snow white and airy as amidst sword glares as snow white and airy as soaring dragons, spiritual energy and black chi roiled and intertwined, working seamlessly in concert. The original Luo Bingke narrowly avoided several waves of attacks and squinted a little. He seemed angry, but not enough to express his emotions further, only pursing his mouth. Suddenly he said, "With technique that bad, what's so good about him anyway?" When this line came out of nowhere, Shan Jingzhou's hand trembled a little, but he forced it down and continued attacking. Unfortunately, Binge refused to restrain himself. "Shizun, you've already experienced my prowess. Since we're the same person, why not come with me? I'll definitely give you more pleasure than he could." "Shut up," snapped Shan Jingzhou. "Already experienced," muttered Luo Bingke. "Concentrate on the fight," said Shan Jingzhou. "What does he mean by already experienced? What does he mean by more pleasure than he could?" Bingo! My God. Oh, my baby. "Or perhaps," the original said ambiguously, "Shizun actually likes it when it hurts. Even if that's the case, this disciple guarantees that he could satisfy you." Sex. Yeah. I think I can bring this up now. No, that didn't work. They're fighting. They're fighting. My boys are fighting. The girls are fighting. Oh God, they're both so fucking pretty. Who am I supposed to root for? They're both so pretty. Hang on, give me a second because I need to reply to some text. Maybe. Oh, you sent me so many texts. Holy shit. Holy shit. Oh my God. Hang on. Sorry. Stupid. What the fuck? What the fuck, stupid bitch? Okay, we're going back. Whatever. Ah! Look out. Oh, wait, look, okay, AB. Oh, because of beautiful. Oh my God. Hi, Alpha. We're doing great. Look at them fight. Look at them fight. Okay, it's fine. Yeah, you said I could satisfy you even if you like it if it hurts. In that instant, Luo Bingke's face twisted. In what seemed an unconscious action, he placed his hand on Shin Mo. "Don't draw it," Shan Jingzhou urgently yelled. Only then did Luo Bingke come back to himself. He removed his hand right away, but the crimson of his eyes became even more intense, and his breathing quickened as well. He gritted his teeth and threw himself forward, taking the initiative to shift to close quarters combat. In a direct brute force confrontation, as their power levels and techniques were identical, the consequences they suffered were twinned as well. Shan Jingzhou heard a muffled crack. One Luo Bingke had broken his left arm, the other his right, and both limbs now dangled limply. The reactions were also the same with their broken arms. With their arms broken? They kicked, and so another cracking noise sounded. This time it was their legs. Shen Qingzhou couldn't take it anymore. Enough! If they went on fighting like this, did they intend to perish together? The original's expression suddenly gentled as he looked at Shen Qingzhou. Shizun, do you blame me for making things too painful last time? Baby. Luo Binghe went wide-eyed. Oh, this is the other one, the original. God damn it, fucking bitch! Bitch! He's being a bitch. He's being a fucking bitch. Oh my god, okay. Luo Binghe went wide-eyed. Shizun, you've met him before? If an encounter in the system counted as a meeting, then that was a yes. Not wanting to give a half-hearted answer, Shen Qingzhou said, it was only a chance meeting. Bing-ge really knew how to push someone's buttons. It was my fault last time, he said mournfully. This disciple admits his wrongdoings, but just now... Bro, they're so loud! Hang on. Skedaddle! Scatter! He's such a bitch. This disciple admits his wrongdoings, but just now, didn't Shizun find my touch most pleasurable? We're both your disciples, so how can you bear to treat me like this? Fake. You faker. You're still faking. As expected of Bing-ge, that two-faced backstabber with his honey tongue and a belly full of knives. Who could smile and agree with you while stabbing you 1,000 times in his heart? The male lead in Zhang Lian's grim, dark works were truly sinister. By taking this tack, he was obviously trying to disrupt Luo Binghe's focus. Of course, Shen Qingzhou couldn't let him succeed. He snapped back, his words unambiguous and full of righteousness. It wasn't pleasurable in the slightest. The second after he spat these words, a powerful, numbing wave of heat surged within his belly. It was impossible to ignore and impossible to suppress. As if thousands of ants were sluggishly crawling about inside his body. The corner of Luo Binghe's lips twitched upward as he said, cheerful and ominous, "You still insist on lying about your feelings." I swear to God. Okay, it's fine. Heavenly demon blood. How could he forget? As long as it was a Luo Binghe, he could control the blood mites within Shen Qingzhou's body. Two Luo Binghes openly competed with each other, one agitating the blood mites, the other suppressing them, and the result was that numbing weakness and prickling heat ebbed and flowed through Shen Qingzhou, coming in waves as they rapidly spread from his abdomen to his entire body, even to his fingertips. Ugh. Shen Qingzhou gulped up a couple of painful breaths, his vision blurred, and the hand holding his sword began to tremble. The moment Luo Binghe was distracted, the Jinmo at his waist was snatched away. The original flavor gave them a gleeful smile, a hint of bloodthirsty excitement within it. Right as he grasped the hilt, ready to draw the sword from its sheath, Shen Qingzhou suddenly said coldly, "Don't celebrate too early. Look above you." At this moment, the only thing above their heads were rustling twigs and leaves of bamboo, swaying and undulating in the wind. The original didn't need to raise his head to tell that no threat awaited him above, and he smiled slightly. "Shizun, that sort of ploy is for dealing with little children. Trying to trick your disciple that way is a bit too condescending." "You won't look? All right, you brought this upon yourself." In his head, Shen Qingzhou formed a seal with his left hand and crisply snapped his fingers, his expression hardening. The original was about to say something when a fluttering leaf streaked across his vision. The smile on his face froze. A fine trickle of blood slowly dripped down his cheek. All around him, bamboo leaves... Sorry, wait, what? No, never mind. Okay. All around him, bamboo leaves fell more and more thickly until the leisurely, drifting foliage suddenly sped up, each one slicing toward where he stood in the center, like a frigid, cutting wind from the east. Plucking leaves, flying flowers, ultimate version, 100 leaves, 1,000 flowers. The original Lobinka flung out his palm, routing the dense assault of leafy razors. But for Shenjingqiu, the entire forest was full of ammunition, thick with leaves that rained down like confetti, honing in on their target in hot pursuit. God, why was that so difficult to read? What the fuck? No, anvil. Oh, man. Though they appeared unassuming with a single touch, they could carve flesh from bone. A leaf or two could be dodged, but hundreds upon thousands blotting out the sky as they enveloped a target was inevitably enough to fluster anyone. On top of that, the original had broken both an arm and a leg during his crude duel earlier, hampering his mobility. Shenjingqiu was about to take his bullying further when a black shadow stole in front of him. With his remaining good hand, that figure struck the original Lobinka square in the chest. A look of disbelief flashed over that impossibly familiar face. And in that instant, Shenjingqiu actually found it all somewhat unbearable. The original backed up 2 steps, his throat bobbing as if he'd swallowed a mouthful of blood. "How harmonious," he sneered. "Not bad, His words were mocking, but his good hand had already clenched into a fist, his veins faintly bulging. Since he'd come of age, no one had ever managed to push him this far. Being at such a disadvantage reminded him of the days when he'd been persecuted and humiliated, trampled over in all kinds of ways. The hot tea spilled on his head, the cold and drafty woodshed, the relentless beating fists, the verbal abuse. The kneeling that lasted from the blazing afternoon into the dead of night. The paucity of his meals. And connected to those days via 1,000 inseparable threads was a face before him. But right now, that face's owner stood beside a person identical to him, cradling his double's broken arm, too afraid to touch it, but also too worried to let go. As if he himself could feel the pain, Shenjingqiu frowned. "Why did you fight him head on? And you kept fighting even though you knew your arm was broken. Don't be so reckless next time." It was a scolding. Oh, jeez. It was a scolding, but the tone wasn't just urgent and upset. It was anguish and full of heartache. Even an idiot could hear that. A chill wind blew through the forest, rustling the foliage. Leaves drifted down one by one. It was so infuriating and so unfair. The image of the two of them standing together was so glaring that his eyes began to hurt, the rims prickling with heat. Even though they were both Lobinka, for what reason had that one been able to meet this sort of Shenjingqiu, while he had only met a rotten bastard, vindictive, petty, and jealous to the core? For what reason? The carefully preserved clothes and belongings, the pristine and tidy side room, the gentle whispers, the boundless doting and indulgence. He'd only wanted to humiliate them because that disgusting relationship of theirs elicited nothing but his contempt. And yet the "come with me" that left his mouth in that instant was involuntary, and it was addressed to Shenjingqiu. "I'm fine. I'm really fine. I'm so fine." Lobinka heard those 3 words and sneered. "What did you say? Huh?" His knuckles cracked. From the looks of it, they had triggered a killing rage. It was true that Shenjingqiu approved of finishing people off. He was a big fan of finishing things off. But if he had If he had Luo Bingke kill the other Luo Bingke, exactly what would they be doing here? Then again, if Shen Qingqiu were to land the killing blow himself, that would be even more unthinkable. Furthermore, what if the law that the male lead has plot armor was still in effect with regard to the original Bingge? Shen Qingqiu pressed down on his Luo Bingke's shoulder with 2 fingers, telling him to calm down. As he was racking his brain as to how to deal with this, the original Luo Bingke moved first. He slapped away Shin Mo's paper seals. Dark chi and purple light surged forth, and with the other 2 still on full alert, he cut a dimension-severing slash, opening a spatial rift, and leapt inside. As he looked back, he viciously bit his lip. So infuriating. Then the rift vanished, together with his figure. Just like that, he was gone? Had he been that easy to defeat? Though he was frozen for a while, Shen Qingqiu finally recovered. Head back to destroy Shin Mo's fragments this instant. You can't keep something like that around. The bugs in that thing's code were way too serious. If they held on to it, who knew what kind of ridiculous development it'd stir up next? Luo Bingke slowly nodded, though he probably didn't need anyone's support. Shen Qingqiu continued to lend him one of his arms to lean on. I need a moment. I need a moment. Because the original Bingge is so gay. And he's so repressed. And he's so hurt by everything that's happened to him in his life. I think I need to take a break. I think we need to take a little bit of a cry break. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. Okay, let me see how long the rest of this chapter is. Quite long. About 15 pages left, maybe. I think we can finish it. I'm gonna take a break here, and then I'll come back and tell you what's going on, okay? Because I actually need to know what's going on. But yeah, I will be right back. See you in a bit. What sick tunes? Who else is here for the sick tune? The list. The elevator music? Oh my god, you guys are so dumb. Anyway, I'm back, if you didn't notice. Whoa! Okay. This is when we get into it. This is when, we test the limitations of, streaming sites. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep going. Going. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I should start recording. I'm gonna start recording just in case. I'm just gonna start recording. Alright, we're on the bottom of page 48. They'd barely walked a single step when Lo Bing-he said mournfully, "Shizun, is my technique really that awful?" To be honest, it was indeed awful. Really awful. Regardless of whether it was a matter of kissing, touching, stripping, or rolling around, the difference was far more than a few levels. And when it came to thrusting, he hadn't had the chance to compare, but if one followed this line of logic, it would also be a fail. Obviously, Shen Jingqiu wouldn't say these words. Instead, he skirted around it with a "not really." The gloom on Lo Bing-he's face grew heavier and heavier. "After all, you don't have much experience," Shen Jingqiu consoled him. Bing-ge's skills had been honed through fighting hundreds of battles and having trysts with hundreds of women. Lo Bing-he's head drooped. From the look of it, he was probably contemplating squatting in some corner to grow mushrooms again. More than anything, Shen Jingqiu couldn't stand just watching Lo Bing-he in one of these moods. These bitch asses. Anyway, this master will treat your arm and leg first, and once they're healed, we can do some exploring together, he said in a coaxing tone. How about that? Lo Bing-he abruptly jerked his head up. Really? He's so baby. He's so baby. Oh my god. Shen Jingqiu had known that he would react like this and calmly patted his head. Treatment first. Lo Bing-he nodded. Then, with two cracks, he slotted his arm and leg back into place. He instantly straightened, using his perfectly whole hands to grasp Shen Jingqiu's arms. A soft flush rising to his cheeks as his eyes sparkled. I'm healed. Shizun, let's do some exploring. This bitch. A hole yawned overhead in the bamboo house, and a whistling wind funneled in through it. Shen Jingqiu lay on his back facing the sky. Lo Bing-he's weight was on top of him. Like a puppy, he licked and kissed down a line of his throat. He stared at the gaping hole above them, which had been blasted open by one of the Lo Bing-he's during their battle. Finally, unable to pretend he couldn't see it any longer, he said, "How about we change locations?" Lo Bing-he raised his head. "No," he said obstinately. "Leaving the mountain and booking a room or whatever would be better than this." Shen Jingqiu had yet to comment when Lo Bing-he repeated himself. "No changing. Let's do it here, in the bamboo house." This guy has fantasized about this for years and years and years and years and years and years. Oh my god, you pervert! I don't know, where was I? Where am I? Where did I go? Okay, he said this very firmly. In all likelihood, the bamboo house was a very special place to Lo Bing-he. Shen Jingqiu capitulated and went to remove his clothes himself. At this point, he could say he had some experience. He couldn't wait for Lo Bing-he to remove them. If he did, those clothes would no longer be in a wearable state. So it was better to fully strip himself first. After a spate of rustling, their outer robes, inner robes, and waist sashes all fell to the floor, one by one, the teal and black overlapping. Now that they were exposed to each other, a chill wind blew past, and Shen Jingzhou felt very keenly that he was both a bit cold as well as a bit embarrassed. Yet Lo Bingke didn't seem to feel the same in the least. He knelt between Shen Jingzhou's legs, his Adam's apple bobbing, and an expression terribly nervous. The last time they'd done this, on Maigu Ridge, he'd been in a daze. He didn't remember it very well, but he'd seen the disastrous, bloody aftermath, and he knew just how dreadfully he'd done. On top of that, he'd just suffered a massive blow to his ego, so he sorely wanted to put on a good performance, but he had no idea how to go about doing so. So real, my guy. So real. Watching him hesitate, Shen Jingzhou found him pitiful. He sighed and took the initiative, reaching out to undo the belt of Lo Bingke's pants. Lo Bingke's pale face flushed red, and Shen Jingzhou couldn't resist using a hand to scratch at his chin. This child really was quite adorable when it came to things like this. But after undoing his belt and looking down, he saw that thing already alert and erect, and all thoughts of adorability instantaneously flew off beyond the 9 heavens. Fuck, the size! Absolutely not, Shen Jingzhou said resolutely. The words struck Lo Bingke like lightning. Shizun, you promise? What he meant by absolutely not was, we can't just go to town like this, I'll die. Just how had he managed to survive last time? How had this thing gotten inside his body without killing him? How had he not been annihilated? Shen Jingzhou struggled for a moment, then said, let this master, let me take care of you once with my hands. At least he could jerk him off to deflate it a bit first. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. He got jump scared by the heavenly pillar, he did. Ugh. God. Shen Jingzhou's 5 digits had never serviced another person before, so this was a groundbreaking first for him. He prodded the purple-red head of that fleshy pillar with its ridiculous constriction... with his ridiculous construction and bulging veins, then steeled himself and grabbed it. Lo Bingke yelped in pain, his expression a little aggrieved. Shen Jingzhou focused on hypnotizing himself, his grip neither tight nor loose, as his hand slowly began to move. Hi, Camper. Thanks for the follow. What a wonderful intro to my streams. How you doing? Oh god. Anyway. The more he jerked Lo Bingke off, the more alarmed he became. Whether it was a question of girth, hardness, or temperature, this definitely wasn't something that belonged on a living organism. Right? It'd be more correct to call it a weapon, right? After a rough start, where Shen Jingzhou hadn't yet figured out the right level of force, leading his grip to be a little painful, Lo Bingke visibly got into the mood with a quickness. He stared at Shen Jingzhou, squinting a bit through limpid, quavering eyes, and his breath too became slightly unsteady. Shen Jingzhou's face was blank, but his actions were fervent. The more he rubbed, the sorer his hands became, but other than a tiny trickle of white fluid released from that flared head, this infernal object demonstrated absolutely no intentions of further release. It wouldn't go down, it wouldn't surrender. If anything, it stiffened further. No matter how calm Shen Jingzhou kept himself, he couldn't stop his expression from twisting. Lo Bingke had secretly been paying attention to his face the entire time. At this moment, he carefully said, "Then, Shizun, how about you do it?" What? Shen Jingzhou thought he'd heard wrong. Lo Bingke was going to let him top? "I'm afraid of hurting Shizun again," said Lo Bingke. So it'd be better if Shizun did it. He spoke very earnestly, his expression sincere. He was seconds away from lying down before Shenjingzhou hastily said, "No, I will. It will be best if you do it." If Shenjingzhou took charge, he didn't have any experience, okay? It was, He didn't have any experience, okay? If he wasn't careful and made Lobinka bleed everywhere, even though he knew Lobinka would still be overjoyed, he wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Man, I just called him out so bad. Stupid. There would be more opportunities in the future anyway. There was nothing wrong with going along with him a bit more, or letting him taste a little sweetness first. In short, it unequivocally wasn't on account of being a little move that Shenjingzhou was offering to get... What the fuck am I reading? In short, it unequivocally wasn't on account of being a little moved that Shenjingzhou was offering to give up the lead himself. Goodbye. As if to encourage Lobinka, Shenjingzhou patted his head and turned himself over, which head, lying face down over the pillow. His elbows were propped up on the bed, his shoulder blades raised high, and the line of his waist dipped in a soft arc, practically presenting his backside to Lobinka. Oh, God. Shenjingzhou was so ashamed that his face was burning, but unexpectedly, Lobinka grabbed his waist and flipped him back around. "What's wrong with you now?" he asked helplessly. "Shizun," Lobinka said, "I want to do it from the front." "You want to do me face to face?" In his head, Shenjingzhou's expression was dark. "Don't be greedy." He tried again to lie on his front while mumbling in his heart, "This child is so fucking fussy. He's lucky enough that I'm letting him do it at all." But lo and behold, Lobinka again flipped him over like a pancake, his expression mournful. "Shizun, do you really hate looking at my face that much?" This manipulative little bitch. this little bitch. It's fine. I get him. I understand. I would like to look at Shizun's face too. Shenjingzhou was just following his omega instincts. Yes. Oh God. Fine beads of sweat dotted his forehead. His nose was dusted red, and tears seemed to be shivering on the rims of his lids. Shenjingzhou had absolutely zero doubts that if he refused again, Lobinka would burst into tears on the spot. Faced with this scene, he felt both embarrassed and tender. His heart melted. He couldn't help but say, "That's not it." Lobinka was on the verge of weeping. Heartbroken, he whined, "Then why does Shizun insist on having his back to me every time?" You're really thinking about it too much. Where do all these little moods and ideas come from exactly? Whatever, he didn't need his face. It would be better for Lobinka not to read into things so much. All right, Shenjingzhou said recklessly. "From the front is fine. Cease this weeping. Aren't you ashamed?" Lobinka's following actions proved that his tears held no value whatsoever. Yeah, it's safe, obviously. This is very safe. Yeah, don't worry about it. Shut up! I scared them away. Maybe I am dog-coded. Oh, man. "Oh," he said, and the moisture vanished as swiftly as it had arrived. He shamelessly pressed his head closer, his hand caressing Shenjingzhou's skin. Shenjingzhou possessed both a slim waist and delicate limbs. His bare legs were long and slender as well, and they were face to face. Those legs were forced to bend and fold. I read that so wrong. His bare legs were long and slender as well. As they were face to face, those legs were forced to bend and fold. Lobinka looked down. He had a clear view of everything between them, of the deep gully separating the two round buttocks. Such an unsexy line. That's the most unsexy line I've ever fucking read. Oh my God. got serious. Oh, I love it so much. Oh boy. Uh-oh. Lobinka's hand shook slightly as he skimmed up a smooth, silky inner thigh. Shen Qingzhou couldn't help but shrink back, as if afraid he'd renege? What does that mean? Renege. Lobinka held one of his thighs down, then pressed a finger right inside. The digit was slick and greasy, as if already slathered in oil. It had little problem popping into him, where it was quickly received and enveloped by Shen Qingzhou's scalding hot inner walls. The sensation of that nimble finger prodding and crooking against his tight passage was incredibly bizarre, and a shudder traveled up Shen Qingzhou's spine as his scalp went numb. Thus he didn't have the mind to wonder where Lobinka had acquired such ample tools for preparation. Reneg? Is it take back? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, my dictionary. I need water again, guys. My throat's drying. It's bad porn. It's so bad. We can't deny that it's bad. But it's so. Oh my god, it's so good. Lobinka held his breath, totally focused on his task. When he pressed in a third finger, there came a slight sensation of something tearing. I would like to put in a trigger warning that there is gonna be blood. Yeah. Shen Qingzhou gasped and grabbed Lobinka's forearm, gritting his teeth. Bingha's forearm, gritting his teeth. Slow down. Like a toddler learning to walk, Lobinka did indeed slow down and followed Shen Qingzhou's instructions, proceeding step by step as he tried to press and rub. When he found a tender spot along those walls, Shen Qingzhou shuddered, suddenly finding it all less unbearable. Enduring his shame, he said, "There, that's fine." Why did he need to teach another person how to fuck him? Having to act the master even in this situation. Shen Qingzhou truly wanted to light an entire Sangchong Mountain's worth of candles for himself. Yeah. I mean, 3 fingers, if it's Lord Bigga's a big guy. He's a big boy. He's a big boy. Lobinka stretched him out carefully while studying his expression. The corners of his eyes, which had been dyed a faint red, the tightly pressed lips that stifled all sound, the brows that at times wrinkled, at times relaxed. Lobinka's eyes captured each and every minute change. The sensation of having nowhere to hide made Shen Qingzhou feel even more excruciatingly ashamed, and he was about to turn his head to the side in embarrassment. Suddenly he detected something out of the corner of his eye. Close to Lobinka's heart was a hideous scar that cut right across his chest. It was from when Shen Qingzhou had pushed him into the endless abyss, where Shen Qingzhou had stabbed him right by his heart. He never once intended to hurt Lobinka, but time after time he had been the one to do so. That was the truth. Falling into a brief trance, Shen Qingzhou unconsciously reached out to touch that scar. At the same instant, Lobinka finished his preliminary preparations. He withdrew his fingers, and the hole immediately clenched shut. Then Lobinka's blazing chest came forward and pressed against his. That flared tip, hot and blunt, prodded against his soft, moist entrance. I can do this. I can get through this. I can get through these words. I've read much worse. Oh god, okay. Okay, we're doing this, fine. Shen Qingzhou wrapped his arms tightly around Lobinka's neck and gasped deeply like a dying man as his body was slowly split open by that length. It still hurt. The entrance was too small, he was too full, and it hurt. Even with that lubricating oil sourced from heaven knows where, The girth of that intruding object was simply too large. As it continued to aggravate the pain in his lower half, Shen Qingqiu couldn't help but squeeze Lobinka harder and harder, his legs involuntarily rubbing along his waist. "Shizun, is this all right?" Lobinka asked, the sound reverberating in his eardrums. Lobinka's voice was tight with restraint. It was obvious that it was taking everything he had not to just drive himself in all the way. Shen Qingqiu defied his own thoughts to say, "It's fine." Having received confirmation, Lobinka's hands on his waist tightened a little, and he thrust himself in with increasing eagerness. Shen Qingqiu's insides were crammed full, his entrance stretched into a strained ring. Okay. It felt like his bottom half no longer belonged to him. Damn. Lobinka pulled out a little, then thrust inside again, burying most of himself within. As he advanced and retreated in this manner, moist... I can't read this. As he advanced and retreated in this manner, moist squelches came one after the next, and the torment left Shen Qingqiu both itching and in pain. He almost wanted to slam his head into the wall, and tears streamed down his face without his knowledge. At the same time, Lobinka turned Shen Qingqiu's face forward, preparing to kiss him, only to see him overwhelmed with pain. He froze for a moment, and, having taken another blow to the heart, his own tears followed, spilling down. The teardrops pitter-pattered onto Shen Qingqiu's cheek, pattering until he was left speechless. "What are you crying for?" in his head. "I'm sorry, I hurt Shizun again," Lobinka said in a trembling voice. Shen Qingqiu didn't reply. "It's because this disciple is too stupid." Two people crying at each other. What the hell kind of situation was this? Enduring the discomfort in his lower body, Shen Qingqiu pecked Lobinka's eyes and cheeks, kissing away his tears. "I'm fine. It doesn't hurt that much. Everyone experiences moments in which they're less capable. Go on." "I'll pull out," Lobinka said sadly. "Fuck, don't joke around. If we leave things like this, we'll both end up with psychological trauma. What if we get ED? In his head. A brief pain was better than a drawn-out one. They'd come this far. At least one person had to feel good, right? Shen Qingqiu made his decision and abruptly sat up, pushing Lobinka beneath him. They have such bad sex every single fucking time. I just love that it's so consistent. It's amazing. No. 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 Behave yourself. A brief pain. Yes. The strength. Wait, what? Where the fuck am I? Shen Qingqiu made his decision and abruptly sat up, pushing Lobinka beneath him. The strength he'd been building for so long was exhausted in one go. He had none left to brace his legs. His bottom plunged down. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, right, they switched positions. Okay, I wasn't paying attention. Shen Qingqiu made his decision and abruptly sat up, pushing Lobinka beneath him. The strength he'd been building for so long was exhausted in one go. He had none left to brace his legs. His bottom plunged down, swallowing Lobinka within himself to the fullest extent. The tip seemed to press all the way up into his stomach, bringing with it a sudden urge to retch before he forced himself to swallow. Lobinka hadn't come the last time, so it probably hadn't counted as fully losing his virginity. Then this time, he had to at least help Lobinka get that far. As he thought this, he propped his arm against Lobinka's abdomen and managed to sit up a little. Suddenly, the thick, hard object inside him rubbed against something, and a burst of tingling numbness swept through him, exploding within his stomach and flooding his entire body. Taken by surprise, Shen Qingqiu's back went weak as he collapsed forward. Lobinka sat up just in time to catch him and folded him into his arms. Lobinka's senses were incredibly sharp. "Shizun, does it stop hurting when I touch there?" he asked doggedly. Not only had it stopped hurting, and it even felt a little good. In this position, Shen Qingzhou's legs were spread wide open as he sat atop Luo Bingke, face to face, their lower halves pressed seamlessly together. In order to keep his balance, Shen Qingzhou was forced to circle his limp arms around Luo Bingke's neck. Even Luo Bingke's gentlest movements shifted their snugly joined lower bodies, and Shen Qingzhou couldn't stop a couple of closed-mouthed whines from slipping out. Delighted and rejuvenated, Luo Bingke fully embraced Shen Qingzhou's hips and lifted them a little, then dropped him down while aiming for that spot. This time, Shen Qingzhou could no longer hold it in. He let out a gasp, his trembling legs no longer obeying him as they clamped down on Luo Bingke. His entrance, too, clenched in a death grip. Having found the key, Luo Bingke officially went on the offensive. He had no technique at all. He only knew to thrust fervently. But it was precisely this that could strip a person of their last defenses. Shen Qingzhou didn't know whether he was in pain or taken by bliss. The jostling disrupted his faint groans and disordered gasps, turning them choppy and intermittent, while the sounds of sticky squelches and slapping— oh god, I do not like this. I do not like reading this. While the sounds of sticky squelches and slapping flesh came from below, a milky white fluid exuded from his tip, and the trickles grew— I'm so sorry. That's not horny. And the trickles grew as they dribbled down. The more fervent the thrust, the more difficult it was to relieve the prickling heat and numbing tingles within him. Suddenly, scattered footsteps— oh my god, I forgot about this! Oh my god. Suddenly, scattered footsteps drifted in from outside the bamboo house. I'm so curious if this scene is this dorky child. I'm pretty sure it is. It's so— I don't know. I'm so tired. Shishong, wait for us. I can't run any further. If Shen Qingzhou had been drunk on lust moments before, now his soul was about to flee his body. It was the disciples he sent to run laps around Qingjing Peak. Shen Qingzhou abruptly grabbed Luo Binghe's shoulder, wanting to get off him. But to his chagrin, Luo Binghe clamped onto his waist, viciously pressing him downward. This thrust was suddenly too deep, the fullness stretching him too far, the stimulation too powerful. Shen Qingzhou opened his mouth, but Luo Binghe instantly blocked it with his own, unable to do more than grunt. Shen Qingzhou could only choke down his sobs, squeezing his eyes shut as reflexive tears streamed down his face. Having tasted that sweetness, how could Luo Binghe let him go so easily? He gently worried at him with lips and teeth, while his lower half forcefully drove in and out. Huh? Why do I feel like something is missing on top of the bamboo house? Ming Fan asked outside. Is that a hole? You're right, Dashi-song. It really does look like a hole. When did that happen? Should we go tell Unding Peak? Get them to come and fix it right away? Why would you do that? Why would you make me do this? Apple? Shen Qingzhou was terribly afraid of them coming in now, or of them telling someone else to do so. His fingers clenched, digging hard into Luo Binghe's back, while his entrance tensed, making the slide increasingly difficult. Then Ning Ying seemed to stomp her foot as she snapped. What are we going to fix? After running for so long, we're exhausted. If you want to fix it, do it tomorrow. All the disciples quickly chimed in. All right, let's listen to Shimei. If Shimei says to fix it tomorrow, we'll fix it tomorrow. Besides, Shizun doesn't like it when people— oh, this is Ning Ying. Besides, Shizun doesn't like it when people even casually enter and clean Alo's side room. Ning Ying said. He definitely wouldn't be happy if we did anything without his permission. Haven't you gotten that into your heads yet? At these words, Luo Binghe's eyes flashed, and he abruptly pushed Shen Qingzhou onto the bed. As the disciples all headed toward the dining hall while muttering, Lo Bingke finally stopped covering Shen Qingzhou's mouth. Instead, he moved his head to Shen Qingzhou's chest, where he nibbled on a nipple, while his lower half thrusts became increasingly ferocious. Shen Qingzhou didn't even need to look to feel the delicate flesh of his walls being dragged in and out, the sensations alternating between cool and hot. After so many thrusts, his insides had grown used to the size of Lo Bingke's. I'm not gonna say it on here. Pillar. Okay, it doesn't say that, but I'm gonna say pillar. It slid in and out easily, and the accommodation perfect. Shizun, murmured Lo Bingke. Don't say that, Shen Qingzhou couldn't help but plead. To address him properly as a disciple to his master at a time like this, he was going to explode with shame 100 times over. No matter how thick his face, how shameless he was, he couldn't take it. But Lo Bingke suddenly murmured by his ear, Shizun, I couldn't find you on the other side. His voice was trembling slightly. Shen Qingzhou dragged himself back to attention. The me over there had so many people at his side. Oh wait, this is Bingke. The me over there had so many people at his side, but he didn't have you. Shizun, I searched for a long time, but I still couldn't find you. The reason I became like that, was it because I didn't have you? A pause. I don't want to become like that. Shen Qingzhou took a deep breath and pulled Lo Bingke's head toward his chest, where he stroked it. Don't worry. You won't become like him. A moment. And your Shizun will never throw you away ever again. How did it go? How did it get so soft? How did it get so soft so fast? That's a scene break. Guys, cover your ears if you don't want to hear an ara, okay? Okay? Ara. There, done. I did. Moving on. That was a small scene break. We're on we're on page 61 at the end of the chapter. All right. Last stretch. Demons had incredible stamina. This Shen Qingzhou knew. Male leads also had incredible stamina. Shen Qingzhou knew this as well. But that someone who shared both the demonic blood and male lead traits could last this long. That he had such profound stamina, Shen Qingzhou absolutely hadn't been mentally prepared for that. By the time Lo Bingke finally came, Shen Qingzhou was in a daze. It was the searing flood of hot fluid spilling inside him that finally brought him back to his senses. At this moment, he no longer wanted to fuss over condoms or the lack thereof, or whether or not it was fine to come inside him. He just wanted to sleep. His balls felt swollen. Even a gentle rubbing made them prickle with pain. Lo Bingke reluctantly pulled out, then put his all into relieving Shen Qingzhou's desire in front. Yet even after being jerked off twice, Shen Qingzhou was still singing the same tune. He just wanted to sleep. Shizun, said Lo Bingke. Shen Qingzhou knew what he wanted to ask and mercilessly spoke. First. Awful. However, this time, even after receiving criticism, Lo Bingke wasn't depressed. Rather, he exuberantly declared, yes, it was awful. Unacceptably awful. What are you saying? Because it was simply awful, this disciple requests that his Shizun assist him with further exploration. Well. That's the fucking end of the chapter. Oh, God. That's the end of the chapter. The end of the well. uh, God, I fucking love this book so much. Okay. I'm looking at the next two. Ooh, damn. I'm looking at the next two chapters. Wait, what is 118 minus 63? What's that? That's kind of 50 pages as well. I might be able to get through the next two chapters next time. But we'll see, of course, as always. I might have to split it up a bit, but that's okay. At least two? Maybe. Maybe. I just love them. They're so stupid. They're so stupid and they're so perfect for each other in every single fucking one. They're literally meant for each other. God. I need to process. Hang on. I can put my book down now. I need to process the fact that, like, did you hear about the new supply chain? I did, and now I'm like, as I'm rereading this, it's everything is different now with the added context. I'm fine. It's okay. It's okay, really. It's really okay. Why? Why? Oh man, I fucking love this book so much. There's gonna be a resurgence of content, and it's not like the Scum villain is lacking in content. The Scum villain fandom is lacking in content, cause these bitches, we're all just here and alive and thriving, and now we're like, because we've been kind of starved for so long. I think we're all a little bit insane. I think we're all just a little bit insane. Oh my god. I've been reading so much about the extras. I just can't. I love them. I love it so much. I love it so much. Why? How have you been wrong? What happened? How have you been wrong? It feels so good to know we have new things. I know. And it seems like it's actually great. I know! It's just with all this shit happening in the world, it's just so beautiful. It's just such a beautiful thing to happen. The most normal fandom I know. Well, fucking MDZS fandom was oh my god. Stuff about the cover not having the main couple be so fucking for real. Oh my god, that was a beautiful cover. I love that cover. I out of all the covers, I think that one's my favorite. MXTX took the censorship of reincarnation and went, bet, let me make the most of it. Is there censorship of reincarnation? If I wanted to hear about this, I'd watch your... What do you mean? What are you talking about? What other site? What are you talking about? Bro, come back. Come back to me. Alright, don't worry about it. This has been a long stream. I have to go. I like have to leave my apartment. I have to leave my house. I gotta go. But yeah. Oh, also, I do need to let you know that I'm going to be on a. This like what? No. I'm gonna be on a break, on a week break, about a week and a half, honestly. From streaming, but I'll be doing offline things, but also mostly being on a break. So. Yeah, I'm gonna rest up because I've been going really hard on this for streaming thing for like the past 5 months. And I think think I deserve a little bit of a break. Not that streaming is awful and the worst thing in the world. I actually really like streaming. It's very fun. I enjoy it a lot. It just takes a lot of energy and effort. As does anything else, you know. If you do it a lot. Well, yeah. And that's what I believe probably. Thanks to the stream. I hope you get some good resties. Thank you. I hope everyone gets some good resties. I think we should all have a break. It's the end of the year. We're winding down a little bit, and then we'll come back stronger. All right, promise. We'll reconvene. I might possibly stream, do another reading stream on Sunday next week, possibly. It just depends how I'm feeling, because honestly, I just really like reading this book. And honestly, it doesn't take too much energy from me, so yeah. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But yes, for now I shall bid you adieu. I will look for someone to raid. How's that sound? Let's raid someone. Ooh, should we raid? Iron Mouse. No. Ooh, okay. Let's raid Chroma. Chroma is a very lovely person who organized most of the Halloween concert. Hang on, actually I can't see my chat at the moment. Chroma organized both Chroma and Milky organized the Halloween concert. So be very nice and kind, all right? Don't be mean. All right. I will see you next week. Maybe? I don't know. I'll see you later. Okay. Wait, I should probably start raiding things. No. Okay, yeah. I'll stop. Ugh. Eat. All right. I'll be kind and good, and also be safe, and also mask up. All right. I haven't said it in a while, but mask up. Be kind. Be kind and mask up. I'll see you later. Bye.